how to help your kid read more effectively so that they can actually retain and remember the knowledge they have consumed better and apply the knowledge to improve their lives, to achieve their goals, to achieve success in school, in sports, in their career, and to become the leaders they are meant to be. And that is exactly what we're going to discuss in this video. I'm going to share with you my 5S tested, proven system that can help you to help your kid read more effectively for knowledge retention, for goal achievement, for overall success. I have been applying the system to myself, my own children, and over the last 20 years, I have helped hundreds of young people achieve their goals in school, in sports, and beyond. And my work has been featured, really honored, been featured in Forbes, Adobe, LinkedIn, curate Media. I also had the great honor to deliver a TEDx talk. So really blessed that you are here, and I'm really excited to share with you this tested and proven 5S system to help your kid read more effectively. If this is what you are interested in learning more about, please keep watching. Hello again. How to read so that knowledge returns and your kid can actually apply the knowledge to improve their lives, achieve the success they deserve. So in this training, I have 3 sections for you. The very first one is, I know many of you already know about this, but I actually want to show you the research behind this, why reading is so critical to your children's success. So I'm a goal achievement coach. I especially serve high school students, college students, and recent college graduates. So if you have a kid or few in this category, this video is highly relevant to you. Okay. So why reading is very important specifically for the demographic that I just mentioned. And then the core part of this training is the second part, which is my tested and proven 5S system that I developed over the last 20 years. And the good news is that you will only need to spend 20 minutes or so to watch this video. You do not have to spend 20 years. And finally, as all of my videos, I want to share with you one big idea for takeaway. As for all of my training, this is an upgrade on my side. So in 2026 and beyond, every video I do, I want to give you a free PDF, almost like a study guide that comes with the training. And my goal is to serve you for as much as I can. Of course, if you want to join our high touch coaching program, you're more than welcome to do that. In the link, there's a application link for you to apply to book a clarity consultation with me. But if not, every single video that you watch on my channel starting in 2026 has a guide that comes with the training. So make sure you download the guide. The link is in the description. Okay, so one big idea or takeaway for you and your kid. Okay, so let's get started. Why is here? I'm going to make my face a little bit smaller. So why is reading so critical to your children's success? And I'm going to share with you 3 reasons. So the first one is this one. Many of you have probably heard of this. The first one is that read, or let me say yes in the chat box. How many of you want your children to become a leader in the school, a leader in their community, a leader in whatever sports they do, in their career, organization, volunteer organization? I do. I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. I want my children, all of them, to become leaders because this is probably biased. I think my kids have lots of potential, just like you. You believe in your kid. So that's the number 1 reason, because I really love this quote here. Not all readers are leaders. So let that sink in for a second. What this means that just because you are a reader, it doesn't necessarily mean you are a leader. However, almost all leaders are readers. Okay, so if you want your kid to become a leader in the near future, in the far away future, your kid must fall in love with reading. That is a fact. And so this quote I share with you, and I actually generated. So here some numbers for you to take a look at. And so here, So how many books do famous people read? Warren Buffett, 500 pages a day. Bill Gates, 50 books a year. I know this about Bill Gates many years ago, and he is definitely inspiration for me in terms of me really becoming a reader and falling in love with reading. Elon Musk, 2 books a day. They started when he was very young. Mark Zuckerberg, 1 book every 2 weeks. Barack Obama reads every night. You don't have to love all of these leaders. I know some of them are controversial. However, they all read books on a regular basis, read consistently. Okay, so readers, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. If you want your kid to lead, not just follow, they must start reading. And so I will use my personal example to share with you how reading has completely changed my life. So grateful. And so I went to the University of Maryland. Let me know if you are hashtag go Terps. And if you are UMD graduate, I attended University of Maryland from 2005 to 2009 for my PhD. That was almost like 20 years ago. 20 years ago. So I am so honored that last year, 2025, in October, I actually received an alumni award from the University of Maryland. I'm so excited. So here's a picture of me receiving the award. Actually, there was a video, and when they announced my award, and my oldest son here, I brought all of my children today because why not? So I have 3 boys. Those are my kids. And so my oldest son, who is 14 years old, actually recorded the video when they announced my award. It's really nice. You can check it out on my social media. So anyway, so when I was a PhD student, I took so many courses from the College of Education. So that was me from 20 plus years ago. Looks like so much younger, but anyway, so this professor here, and so her name is Dr. Lin, and so from the College of Education, she's a distinguished professor in the College of Education. So this woman completely changed my life. She has made such a strong impact, just like I hope I can make a strong impact in all of the students I coach. So she has made a strong impact in the sense. So I have some notes here how this professor has really changed my life. And so one thing I noticed about Dr. Lee is that she reads a lot. Okay. And how did I notice that? So in the classes, I probably took 20 plus classes from the College of Education. And so in every class, students typically will ask questions. So every time when we're talking about graduate students, okay, so we ask like pretty good, smart questions. So I noticed about this professor. Every time when a student asks a question, she can always reference a book. And oftentimes, the book is not one of our assigned readings. The book is from psychology, from history, from education, from philosophy, from all of different disciplines. So over the course of the 4 years during my PhD, I was like, wow, I was just so impressed. At the time, I made a decision, which is that I want to be like Dr. Lin. I want to be like her when I become a teacher, which I was a professor for 10 plus years. Then I quit that job, starting my coaching business. And I was like, I want to be like her. And so this is years of me reading books, accumulating knowledge. And I'm proud to say that 20 years later, that I can do the same thing. And so every time when my students or my own biological children, when they ask me a question, at least in the areas of my work, when they ask a question related to self-doubt, motivation, performance, goal setting, and I can almost always reference a book. And can you imagine how much this has elevated my authority, my leadership, my ability to be a role model for young people? Like like when I look at my students, when they look at me every single time, reminding me of me in the classroom, watching Dr. Lin answering every single student's questions with the reference of a book. So I really enjoy that. And I do not think that so many media like Forbes will actually interview me if I am not a well respected leader in my own space. And the reason that I am a leader is because I am a reader. Okay. So I'll give you a quick story here. Another story. I love sharing stories with you. So my oldest is 14 years old and he's a fencer. So he has been fencing for quite a few years. And the last 2 years, he's becoming more serious. So he has made incredible progress as a fencer. However, and his performance is now consistent. So last weekend we were in DC. So he actually did a fencing tournament and he didn't do well at all. Okay, and so he was very disappointed, really, really sad, and we felt the emotions with him. So all of us were kind of sad and disappointed. So when we came back home, and I did a 2 hour reflection with him, and I actually created a really comprehensive Google Doc. We discussed how identity change. We created a game plan that he can use with his fencing coach in terms of skill set improvement, but I can really help him in terms of his mindset, like the overall. So that was really helpful. And as I was engaging in this conversation with my oldest, my middle son, he made a comment. He said that I didn't fail. I'm like, okay. So as soon as I heard that, because he didn't fence, that's why he said, oh, I didn't fail. So as soon as I heard that, I turned that into a coaching moment. You know what I did? So I immediately brought this book, which is I actually have the book here. One of my favorite books by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. I was actually in his coaching program 2 years ago. And so here's the book. And so we come talking about books. So I was like, listen, there is a whole chapter in this book, which is chapter 6. As you can see here. Now, let me make this a bit bigger. So chapter 6, not being in the arena is failing by default. So as soon as I heard my middle son, he said that at least I didn't fail. I'm like, okay. So I got this book from my bookshelf. I know exactly which page, which chapter. So I opened the book. I said, please read the title for this chapter to me. And he said, not being in the arena is failing by default. And at that moment, I didn't even need to say much. He was like, okay, mom, I got what you are saying. So yeah, I was like, at least your bigger brother, at least he's in the arena, but you are not even in the arena. What does that mean? It's like when you are not in the arena, it is a failing by default. It does not give you the right to criticize or even shame another person, even though they didn't do a good job. At least they're in the arena. So that was a really powerful moment. And after this, I was like, wow, it just reminds me of this moment, this decision I made many years ago, 20 years ago, that I wanted to become this incredible professor one day. When anything happens, at least related to my knowledge field, that I can reference a book to really enhance my credibility, enhance my authority, enhance my skill set as a coach. And now I can say that I have done that successfully thanks to being a good reader over the last so many years. And in here, as you continue watching this video, you will learn that I do not read as the average person. What do I mean by that? I will share with you in a second. So, but anyway, so this is the very first reason that why you want your kid to be a reader, because readers are leaders. And you need to remember, not all readers are leaders. However, all leaders are readers. Okay, so that is the very first reason. Now let's look at the second reason. Why reading is critical for young people. And so the second reason is that it really helps you enlarge your vocabulary, and literacy actually boosts success. So much research has backed this up. So one of the most famous research is that the scholars actually studied prisoners, and they discovered that prisoners have actually lower literacy rate, as you can see from the data here. And so over 70%, they have very low literacy skills, and actually many struggle to read beyond the elementary level. And so here's the study here. the U.S. Department of Education. So the same thing I shared with you in the image, the same number shows a large percentage, around 70% prisoners, they have very low literacy. They actually struggle to read beyond a fourth grade level. So why does this matter? So what matters is that when you have this image here, when you have a small vocabulary, guess what? You have a small word. When you have a larger vocabulary, you can actually almost enlarge your word view. When you have a smaller one, you shrink your word view. Okay, so I really love this connection between literacy and overall success in life. So that is another reason. And I will say this for a fact, being a reader has absolutely enlarged my own vocabulary and expanded my way of thinking. And because when you think about it, every book, like the book here, this author spent his entire life, he's also a PhD, thinking about this, studying this. You can learn everything from the book in about a few days or maybe a few months, depending on how fast you read. That is like almost like decades in days. It is a good deal, right? Can really like it to me. Reading is a shortcut to success. So yeah, so remember the study. Reading really helps you enlarge your vocabulary, boost literacy. Literacy is correlated with success from this inmate study. Very powerful. So that's the second reason that you really want your kid to become a reader, because that can really help them enlarge their vocabulary. And the third reason that you want your kid to love reading is that reading really helps your kid build a really powerful network and environment. So to really help them curate an environment for growth. And so I myself, I'm in the Washington D.C. area. I don't know about you. So in my environment, I do not have lots of people who do what I do, who think like I do, who have the same passion, ambition, desire for success, for impact the way that I do. And so what's good about reading books is that you can literally curate a network that can challenge you, that can support you, that can help you grow. And that's exactly what I'm able to accomplish through reading books. And so all the books I read, this is almost like my invisible environment that shapes who I am today. Every single book, every single author, they made an impact. Even though I have never met Dr. Hardy in person, I took his coaching program, but that one is online. Here's another book. This is a book written by a mathematics professor at Stanford University. I never met her, but this book has made an impact in my life. So I'm surrounded with all those incredible authors and books that continue to shape who I am, so much more powerful than my immediate physical environment. So if your kid doesn't really have a powerful or positive environment that can help them grow into the leader they're meant to be, why not using books to curate such an environment that challenges them, that pushes them, that really inspires them to achieve more, achieve success. And one thing about me is that, so if I really, really love a book, I will actually reach out to the author and I will say, hey, listen, can I actually interview you on my podcast? And I did. So I give you some examples here. So Dr. Peter Gray, and so he's a professor at Boston College in psychology and many other things. So he's an advocate for play-based learning. And I interviewed him. This was many years ago. I was actually pregnant with my second baby. And I think so. Maybe my third, I don't even remember. I think I was pregnant with my third baby. I don't remember. But I was pregnant with one of the babies because I was so passionate about how do I really raise my kids. And he's the author for this book, Free to Learn, which I read it. I really, really love it. So I love the book. I reach out to the author and I interview him. So I curated this network that helps me become a better coach, become a better mom. And so here's another one, Dr. Esther Wojcicki. she is actually known as the godmother of Silicon Valley. So I don't know if you know much about her. And she's a really famous high school teacher in California, and many of her students have become entrepreneurs and really, really famous. And her own children are also very famous, successful. One is a doctor, one is a very famous entrepreneur. 21 and Me, another daughter unfortunately passed away. She was the CEO of YouTube when she was alive. So the mom is very successful. And I read the book, How to Raise Successful People. I was like, wow, this is such a great book. I really, really love it. And then I reached out to her. I said, Dr. Wojcicki, can I please interview you? And she said, yes. So here is the interview. And this interview gained, I think, 7,000, like lots of views. And it is not about the view, but really about how much I learned. So I have her in my network. I actually have her phone number. Not that I will call her, but I have created this really incredible network that pushes me, challenges me, and really helps me grow on a regular basis. The last example is here, Dr. Leonard, and so he is a psychologist, really incredible author. She was featured on so many media outlets, being interviewed. And I actually attended several of his workshops in person. But because I interviewed him, so as the interview here, so we kind of know each other. Which is like I love having smart people in my network. And so the only way that I got to know him is through his books. So here's a collection of all the books he has written in the past. And I have read almost all of them, and I really loved his work. And that's also what inspired me to reach out to him for the interview. And this one is a favorite book of mine from him. And the collapse of parenting, learned so much. This book actually just had a new edition that came out recently, 2024. So highly recommend. But as you can see, right? So I don't have anyone like Dr. Leonard, Dr. Wojcicki, Dr. Peter Gray. I don't have anyone like those people in my immediate 3D environment. But do not let that stop you or stop your kid. Encourage them to curate a network like what I did. They don't even have to interview the author, but they can reach out to them through an email to express their thanks, their gratitude, how much they have learned, to build that connection. Maybe they can even get like a LinkedIn recommendation or recommendation letter for their career, for jobs, for school. Just so many benefits. I highly recommend this. Okay, so this is the third reason that why your kid must start reading. So imagine your kid is not a reader. They're not going to read any of the books. If they don't read the book, they cannot build such a special connection with the author. So when I interview each of the authors, I know their book by my heart. They're so impressed, like, what? You know everything about my book? You know my book better than me. That's a joke. But that is to show you exactly why what we're talking about here. How actually that is a nice transition to the second section. So which is how come I can really remember everything I read, but many young people cannot do this. So this is actually it's now 4S, it's 5. Sorry about the typo. So my tested and proven 5S system for reading. And this is a system that I use myself. The very first one is to study. So what I mean by study is that to really personalize the book. So you highlight, you use sticky note, use color, you personalize. Because even if two people we read the same book, each of us is going to have a complete different takeaway. And so that like you want to have that personal connection to the book. So because you are a different person than me, so you are going to have different parts in the book that resonate with you. And I'm going to have some other chapters that resonate with me. What resonated with you may not resonate with me. And this is what I mean by studying the book. You highlight, you personalize the parts that actually make sense to you or resonate with you. And I also want to share with you. And so I don't know if you guys know Daniel Pink. I read many of his books. He's a New York Times bestselling author of 7 different books. Yeah, so this one is actually one of my favorites from him. It is called Drive. And I use this a lot when I help my students to help them reclaim their motivation. So I help my students with 3 things. One is lack of confidence, self-doubt, like doesn't want to step outside their comfort zone, feeling like imposter, and all of that. The second one is to really help my students elevate their drive, motivation, overcome screen addiction, executive functioning skills, time management, organization. So this book has, I don't even know, I've read this book a few times. So I really love this book and I love the author. Highly recommend you check him out. So recently on his LinkedIn post, he said that he actually shared how he reads books. So here, you can see here, I have written 5 New York Times bestselling and read thousands of books. Along the way, I have learned a few things about how reading actually works. So he's giving us advice. And I really love the very first piece of advice. The very first one is torture your books. Crack it, underline it, write in the margins. And the books are not precious objects. They are really tools for learning. And I so agree with Daniel Pink, because when I look at my own journey, when I shared with you, when I interviewed all of those incredible authors, one thing they noticed, and even the story I shared with you earlier, how I was able to really help my children and my students. Every time they have a question, I can reference a book. So the reason that knowledge really stays in my head for a long time, one of the very important reasons is that I absolutely torture my book. Do you want to see some examples of how I torture my book? So let me share this with you. So the book that I am reading right now is this one. It is called A Path Through the Jungle by Dr. Professor Steve Peters. Here's the book. So I'm only halfway through the book, but you can see how I read the book. I sticky notes almost every single page, and I really torture. You can see here. You know exactly where I am, right? So I halfway through the book. So the first half of the book is absolutely being tortured. So it's a big book. I don't know, 500, 400 pages. So I'm about 200 pages, and even here, right? On the very first cover page, I have so you will see some of my sticky notes. I actually have page numbers. Those are the page numbers I want to go back to revisit and add those page numbers to my coaching slides. So when I coach my students, I'm very different from a therapist. With a therapist, you cannot, many people practice talking therapy. I don't really do that. I have my own entire framework. So I really coach them. Have so many slides. I have the entire slide on motivation, entire slide on self-doubt. So the numbers you see here, like for example, I'll give you some examples here. You can see that here are the numbers. Those are the numbers I'm going to revisit later so that I can add those numbers to the specific slide. Really powerful. And not only that, this is what I mean by personalized. So here, I will show you. So this, I actually have, you can see them here, right? Here's the name, Vivian. Vivian is one of my clients, one of my students. And so when I read one part of the book, I was like, Vivian needs to hear this. I literally write down Vivian's name and I have a page number here. So then I will personalize study, right? Go back here, personalize the book. So I will go back. So when I do my coaching call with Vivian, hey, Vivian, I want to share this with you. So I'm actually doing the work for my students so they can experience a faster transformation. You can see here, it's really how I read my book, how I torture my book. It's not just this book. This is what I do almost with all of my books. This book I shared with you earlier, one of my favorite, and I do exactly the same thing. So I really torture my book. And that is one of the most important ways. I definitely agree with Daniel Pink that you really allow knowledge to stick in your head for years, for decades. You're not going to forget because you go through this personalization process. You really study the book as if you were doing an exam. So if your kid can really do this, this is step number one. Okay. And they will already not just like skim through or even just listen. I used to listen to my books. Then I realized I remember nothing. I remember nothing. So one key element for knowledge retention is that you want to activate lots of your senses, your eyes, your nose, your fingers, everything. But when you are listening, you're like only your ears are being activated, really more passive compared to what I just shared with you here. So that is the very first S, the 5S system, which is to study. You study the book by personalizing book, highlight margins, paraphrase, all of that. So the second S, where's the second one? So the second one is self-connect. And this is, look at that. So this is, I do the first S and the second S, self-connect, almost like simultaneously, meaning that when I read something, I have like a sticky note here. Oftentimes in my sticky note, I paraphrase what the author said. Even more so, I relate what the author said to me, to my life. I'll write down in the margin. I also share with my children, dinner table. I definitely share with my husband. Almost all the books I read that I can use right away to coach my own kids, 14 years old, 11 years old, and 4 years old. Not so much the 4 years old, but my other two kids, I can coach them right away. So oftentimes, I see something really powerful from the book, like this one here, really help me have a way deeper understanding regarding motivation, habit formation, psychology, regulating our emotions. And I can share this with my kid right away. I'll grab them. Hey, listen, this is so important. So yeah. So this is really the second S, how I personalize, like this is one step deeper, not just like highlight, but actually relate the content to my personal life, like the example I shared with you, Vivian's story, to my other students and to my own children, and personalization. So what you see here, I also have this, the law of association. What this means is that, so oftentimes when you are learning a new concept, sometimes the new concept doesn't make sense. And the best way for you to explain the new concept is associate the new concept with a familiar concept that your audience is already familiar with. Uh, let me give you an example right now. So right now I have my 4 years old literally on the floor. Let's see if I can show you. Ethan, say hi. Yes. So I have my 4 years old literally on the floor. He's being really good. And so, for example, he's right now playing Legos. If he asks me, hey, mom, how do you start a business? Can you teach me? I mean, he's only 4 years old. If I tell him, hey, you need this curriculum, you need this online presence, you need to creating content, he was like, what are you even talking about? He will not be able to understand. So if I apply the law of association, I will explain to him, I will say something like, listen, kid, in order for you to build a business, it is exactly the same as you build a Lego, right? Because he's a master at building Lego pieces. He has built a lot. So when I associate something that he doesn't know to something he does know, we're like, okay, now I remember. So this is a really good part of self connect. So when I read in some of the sticky notes, the margins, if I'm learning a new concept that I feel like this is very hard for me to remember, I will associate the new concept with something I already know. I will say something, hey, this is just like that. This is like that. I'm like, oh, okay. So for me to remember, really, really, really powerful. You can apply this, parent, if you want to teach your kids something, you can actually apply this. Hey, listen, this is just like that, right? Cooking, if you are teaching your kid how to cook, cooking is like that, so they will understand. So that is the second S, self connect. And the third one is oh, I'm loving this, is to share. And so this is already at a much higher level. So what I mean by sharing is that Oh, sorry. I think I misspoke earlier when I said self connect. I think I mentioned to share with your family members should actually be here, like step 3. So sorry about that. So here is you learn something, you personalize, you relate to yourself through the law of association. And now I'm like, okay, this is good. This is helping my life. So if you want to bring this to a new level, you share. You share this with your family. This kind of I'm not going to repeat myself. I already mentioned this earlier, and you share with your children, you share with your friends, your family members, your community. You start to share. The more you share, the longer you will remember, the better, the deeper the knowledge will stay inside you. Okay, so that is the third S. Already so much higher than just like kind of you are just doing the learning yourself. This is like you are actually involving an external audience. That's the third S. And number 4, this is really, really high level. So number 3, the third S, and the number 4, the fourth S, if you can apply, if you can really help your kid apply third one and the fourth one really well, this will absolutely advance their school career, education career, and professional career. And I'm going to explain to you why. And so what do I mean by the number 4 here is show and teach. So now you read the book, you study the book, you personalize the book, and you related the book to your own life. You actually share the book with friends and family and classmates and friends. Now your knowledge is still kind of informal, very small circle. And number 4 here is that you actually bring your knowledge to a bigger stage. You start to show and teach. And one really famous model is this one called Bloom taxonomy. So I homeschool my children for many, many years. And this Bloom taxonomy is the model that is in my family on every single floor. So I print it out, I stick it to the wall for many, many years. And I want me to internalize this. I want my children to internalize this. So when you look at this is a learning hierarchy from the lowest level to the highest level. So the lowest level of learning is to remember. Memorization, facts, and information. If I can ask you, do you think remembering is the highest level of learning or the lowest level of learning? I hope you are saying the lowest because you are correct. Guys, who is doing a better job at memorization? AI, technology can remember so much more. I don't even remember my phone number anymore, which is bad. I don't remember my husband's phone number. I don't remember my own phone number. I don't remember my password for many things because I'm using third-party tools to remember so many things. So I don't remember. I'm saving my brain capacity to do the highest level, which is to create. So what is creation? It is to produce new or original work. So when you look at the verbs correlated under create, design, assemble, construct, conjecture, develop, formulate, author, and investigate. So this is what you want your children to do. So going back to reading books, a much better way, the reason that I can remember knowledge at such a deeper level, because not only I share with my children, with my students, but I teach. Look at what I'm doing right now. I'm teaching the process. When you look at many of my other videos on my channel, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I teach my learning. The more I show, the more I teach, the better I remember. That's why knowledge stays with me for decades. And not to mention, I also use what I teach with my students on a daily basis, right? And so if you can really help your kids, so I give you some examples here. And they read a book, can they create a YouTube video? Can they create a podcast? Can they do what I did? Interview the author. One thing I promise you, this podcast, I have coached hundreds of young people to launch their own podcast. They interview authors, industry leaders. If your kid is a student, most people do not say no to a young person. They don't, because we know the young people, they are the next generation. When I reach out to a person, maybe I'll get yes, maybe I will get a no. It is not always a yes, guaranteed. But for a young person, a high schooler, a college student, when you reach out to a person, hey, I just read your book. I really love this book. Can I please interview you on my podcast? Most of those authors, they will be flattered, like, wow, look at you being proactive, being a goal achiever, being a goal getter. All of those taking initiatives, all of those qualities can help your kid not only in terms of their educational career, but also long-term career success. Like I know in my company, when I hire people, I hire people who actually have a podcast because I know that is a sign that they know how to take initiative. And this is also a great way for your kid to build their personal brand, to build their digital asset. Nowadays, just having a resume is no longer enough, right? A resume is flat. You want to add a 3D dimension, which is podcast, YouTube video, short presentation, even blog posts, presentation, teaching. All of those are really great ways for your kid to anchor in the knowledge, whatever they just read in a book. If you don't go through this process, you will still remember, but very much short-term memory. But if you go through this process, show and teach, and even better, create a YouTube channel, like kind of what I'm doing right now, I promise you that your kid will remember this content, this book, forever. Okay, so that is number 4. And last but not least is to synthesize. This is where that you are no longer the messenger, but you become the message, meaning that you become the book, right? And so, for example, this book, Atomic Habits. So this book talks about how we can really master time management skills, goal setting, changing habit. So many good recommendations in this book. Like I'm becoming this book. I'm not perfect, but I'm becoming this book. I have synthesized, I have integrated everything I have learned from this book through my working with students, through teaching, and now finally I'm applying this to myself, integrated everything, internalized everything into me. So I'm becoming the book. I'm becoming the message. I'm no longer just a messenger carrying the book. I am the message of the book. This is really the highest level. So you become the book. This is so powerful. This means that if your kid can get to this stage, they are guaranteed to become a leader in their school, in their community, whatever career they are going to do, because they are carrying, they are a walking encyclopedia, right? So they have become, if the book is about motivation, they are becoming that motivated version. If the book is about emotional regulation, they are becoming that model. So this is the highest level. So in order to get to this highest level, definitely takes time, takes years. For me, in terms of reading, I'm definitely at stage 5. And you can think about where your kid is at. Maybe for many students, the hundreds of young people I have coached, many of them are here. Many of them can't even do the very first study. They cannot skim through. Maybe I should add another one. Pre-stage 1 is skimming. And that's most young people do. Skimming. They don't study, they skim, thanks to technology and social media. That's why they learn something, they forget the next day. Okay, so this is my 5S system. And again, I have everything in a PDF as your study guide. And if you want to download, so using the link completely free, you just need to fill out the form and go to the next page. You'll be able to download my study guide. So study, you know what, I think I will add a the pre-first stage, which is skimming. So skimming, that's kind of where most people are at. Study, self-connect, share, show and teach, synthesize. If your kid is at stage 5, congratulations, your kid is guaranteed to become a future leader. Maybe they are already a leader now. I think so. Yes. So we discussed. So in this video, I shared with you, we're going to do 3 sections. So the very first one is I shared with you 3 reasons, quick recap here, 3 reasons why reading is so critical. I also just presented to you my tested and proven 5S system for effective reading so that your kid can achieve their goals, achieve success. And now let's look at the last one, which is my big idea and big takeaway for you. And I want you to think about, have some questions. I'm inviting you to think with me. So here we are. Here. So here's my big idea for you and your kid. every reader is always at one of those 5 S's. And maybe as I mentioned earlier, skimming. Many people is kind of stuck at stage 1. So the problem when you feel like my kid doesn't even remember anything is it's not that your children they actually do not read, it's that they are stuck in the very early stage. That's why the books they have read, the few books they have read, have such little impact on them, or they haven't truly experienced the joy, the impact of reading good books. Like as I mentioned earlier, I cannot imagine doing what I do, become the leader I am today, without any of the books. Every day I share with my husband, I'm so thankful for every single author who took the time, energy, investment to share their knowledge in a book so that I can learn everything in a month or so and completely have my life changed. Thank you so much. And so you want to, we identify 5S. Again, you know what? I'm going to add another one here, and which is skim. And that is, where is your kid at? Are they just a schemer, or they actually study the book, or are they doing self-connection? Are they actually sharing their knowledge? Are they show and teach through content creation, or they become the message? They are no longer the messenger. And so where is your kid at? I will share with you that if your kid is at any of the last 2 stages, they are guaranteed to become a leader. And the last 2 stages can really help them with career advancement and long-term success. Okay, so going back to what we shared in the very beginning, not all readers are leaders, because many readers do not follow the 5S system that I have just shared with you. Many readers are stuck in the very first S, or the skimming stage. And so if you want to help your kid become a true leader who is also a reader, and you must guide them, or you must find someone like me to guide your kid through the 5S system so that they can become the knowledge. They can carry that identity. They become the knowledge they are consuming, because growth doesn't really happen by reading more. It only happens through going through the 5 stages, especially the last stage, synthesize. Just because you are reading more, how many readers, their life is exactly the same because they think information is going to change their lives. You should definitely check out my last video where I discussed the 4I system for mastery and goal achievement. The very first one is information. Information does not lead to transformation. There are still 3 additional I's to really help your kid achieve that goal. So growth, transformation, success does not just happen because you read a book. What did you do with that knowledge? Okay. And so if you enjoyed this video, and this is actually, so what we discuss here, what you see here on the screen is actually my entire coaching roadmap. This is what I call the aligned achievement system. And so what we discuss here is high performance habits and routine. Reading book is one of them. And so in my coaching program, every single student, I have a very elaborate, I think our program is the best. We go through this entire cycle. We have students who repeat the cycle a few times, but this is the cycle from clarity to confidence to motivation. And eventually they feel empowered, resilient, and accomplished. And so this is one slice of the entire. And very soon I'm going to record a video teaching you about my entire system. But this is this element here. So thank you so much for watching, and make sure you download the study guide that comes with this video. And if you are interested in having your kid work with me one-on-one to help them achieve their goals, overcome procrastination, overcome self-doubt, become more confident, more motivated, more resilient, enhance their time management, executive functioning skills. So in the link, we have only 1 spot left, and for this month, and because my time is highly limited, and so in the link for serious people only, okay, I don't want to waste your time, please don't waste my time. There's a link for you to book a free clarity consultation, so use that link, apply, and book that call with me. Thank you so much for another video. If you enjoy this, follow for more. See ya.